So, can you tell me about Reggie? Had always heard that there was this thing going on with Tupac where he really didn't want to go back to jail, and that Reggie had even heard that Tupac had a plan to where it's like, if I have to go back to jail, I want one of the outlaws to, more or less, trying to word it delicately, like take me out. Did you ever hear him say anything about that?
You know, I never heard him say anything like that, but I think I might have heard. If I'm not mistaken, I know, Edie probably gonna hit me up if it wasn't him, but I think Edie said something like that before. You know what I mean? I do know that Pac, of course, like everybody else, he despised prison. Nobody want to be in prison, especially an individual like Pac. You know what I mean? But I never heard him say that specifically. I think Edie might have heard him, because if I'm not mistaken, Edie, if I'm wrong, forgive me, bro. But I think Edie might have mentioned something like that in one of the interviews, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Um, I do this thing with when we do interviews where it's almost like kind of like a roll call where I'll bring up an artist name or one of the homies that were around and try to get like a brief story
Yeah,
or
I
a
see
memory. Yeah, do you mind if
that.
we do that?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. I'm sniffing, man, because I'm catching a
Oh
cold, bro.
man, no.
So I hope I don't mess. Good.
So the first one is going to be Fatal.
Fatal. Fatal, that's Gaddafi boy. He grew up in Montclair, which is a different district from the part of New Jersey I'm from. It's more like the suburbs. Fatal was one of the dudes that, when it come to lyrics, he was one of the best, poets. I think after Gaddafi, hands down. I think it was Pac and then Gaddafi, then Fatal. Fatal was a solid dude. You know what I mean? That was Gaddafi homie. Um, Good dude. We had a lot of differences. I think out of anybody in the group, man, Fatal used to always, bump heads. The good thing about it, a couple years ago, right before he passed, we was able to speak a lot. We was able to put our differences aside. And the year he died, he was supposed to come to Dubai. And after years of not seeing him, I was like, man, I'm gonna meet you in Dubai. And unfortunately, of course, he had the car accident and passed away. But Fatal is authentic dude, good dude. You know what I mean? Good dude.
Okay. Next, can you speak on Gaddafi?
Gaddafi, bro, he was as they call him, the Prince of the Outlaws. Another dude, authentic dude from Montclair, of course, from Gaddafi, from Fatal. Fatal was like Gaddafi big homie. Like Fatal, he was the big homies of all the people in Montclair. Montclair is an area like where I guess the people who wanted to move out of the bad neighborhoods, they moved to the suburbs of Montclair. And I think Fatal was the beginning of the kids going back to the streets, and then Gaddafi and them. So that's why he was young, but he was still considered the big homie for Gaddafi. So Gaddafi is the one who brought Fatal to the Outlawz. But Gaddafi was a smooth cat, you know what I mean? Funny. I think when it come to the pen, he probably was the only one from the Outlawz that get Pac a chase for his money. Authentic, you know what I mean? He was a 100% authentic, solid dude. One of the realest dudes I know, and one of the coolest, one of the flyest. I think out of the Outlawz, he was the best dresser after Pac. He was the flyest, and of course, he was the best lyricist after Pac. You know what I mean? I think even some songs that he made Pac go back in the booth and do another verse, because after Pac hit his verse, he like, oh man, I gotta go back and do something. I can't let my little brother, you know what I mean, outdo me. Gaddafi is also the one who I would say put majority of the Outlawz together. He brought myself to the group. He brought Fatal. Fatal was the one who brought Noble, of course, but Gaddafi was the one who put everybody together basically.
Okay. What about Trayvon?
Trey, my homie, bro. Trey, a good dude. You know what I mean? He always been a solid dude. Always been respectful towards us, and he always been. We always click. I think the Outlawz, we click with out of all Suge homies or his homies from the mob. Trey was one of the closest to us. He used to come to the house that we had in the valley. I remember when we was in Mexico somewhere on Suge boat, he was freestyling the whole night. Like Trey was a funny dude, but solid dude. Always been a good dude.
Okay. What about Neckbone?
Neckbone, I don't know Neckbone too much besides, just seeing him around Suge and him. Of course, he came around a lot and he hung around a lot. Neckbone was quiet. He was one of them dudes that you could look at and say he's quiet, but don't mess with this dude. You know what I mean? But I can't say he hung out with the Outlawz and us like Trey. Trey used to hang out with us outside of the studio.
Okay. What about Heron?
Heron was my man. You know what I mean? Heron was a dude that up until he passed away, I kicked it with him a lot. You know, I used to go to Compton a lot with Heron, and he used to call us out. He used to call me Outlaw. You know, he'd call me and say, "What's up, Outlaw? You want to go to Compton?" I get in the car and I roll with him to Compton, and you know, we Heron was he was crazy though. Heron was crazy, but a good dude. I miss Heron.
Yeah. You were actually potentially supposed to be with him the day he passed, correct?
Yeah, the day Heron would pass, because I used to go to, you know, it was a time that I was fascinated with Compton. I used to always be up there with Wack Deuce at his grandmother's house. I would always go with Heron. And on that specific day, I remember he called me because Heron used to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, live in the Valley. So he would say, "Outlaw, what's up? What you doing? Let's go to Compton." I'll park my car and jump into his car, and we would go to Compton. But the day that he passed away, I was supposed to be with him. And my oldest son, Salik, moms was like, "No, you need to come and babysit your son." So I wasn't able to go with him. And unfortunately, a few hours later, I get a call from Wack Deuce. He's like, "Man, Heron just got killed." And I was like, I was shocked, bro. You know, I was shocked.
Okay. Any stories or memories with Buntry?
Buntry was also a good dude, funny dude. Like, he wasn't one of the guys that hung with us, you know what I mean? But when he see us, he spoke. You know, he'd say, "What's up, Moo?" He was always close to he had a lot of respect for Pac. Pac had a lot of respect for him. He was around all the time, you know what I mean, with Suge. He'd come in the studio every once in a while, bump his head, listen to some music. But to say I had a personal relationship with Buntry, nah. But I remember him being a real good dude, you know, very respectful, funny, smiling all the time, you know, at times. And, you know, he was a good solid dude.
Okay. And then last one on our list is Wack Deuce.
Wack Deuce, my brother, even up to this day, you know what I mean? Wack, from the time he came around, you know, even Wack, I took Wack to Jersey, took him to my hood. Like, he used to come kick it with me, stay at my grandmother's house in New Jersey. And I go to Compton all the time and stay and just kick it at his grandmother's house. Wack is a good dude. Even to this day, we're in contact. That's my brother. That's family.
Okay. Reggie wanted me to ask you if you remember a time in the Death Row parking lot that you and him were kind of play fighting, and then it kind of escalated a little bit. I don't know if you remember that story or not, but he told me to ask you about that.
Yeah, I remember that. You know, I think I was mouthing off. I used to always talk crap, like always run my mouth to Reggie, and we started, like, you know what I mean. I think he grabbed me. We started wrestling, and it escalated like it was about to get a little serious. And I believe the rest of the Outlaws stopped it. But I do remember walking away like, damn, he's kind of strong, bro. I kind of underestimated Reggie. But Reggie always been my man. Like, I used to always talk crap to Reggie, but that day I guess he didn't want to hear it. So, but it was a good thing. I think we just started wrestling or something like that, and somebody broke it up, you know.